Final sign of a thriving leader that I'd like to share with you is creativity. Isn't this a cool picture? Hands making a face. Albert Einstein said, creativity is necessary because problems are never solved on the same level that they were created. So let's say your problem is you're not focusing on that finish line. Or maybe you're the hare and you're just all over the place. Or maybe things have gotten really complex in your world and you need to get it back to something simple. Or maybe you're practicing above the waterline leadership and making decisions based on image instead of integrity. If that's the case, you need to take things to the next level. I want to give you some examples of what that might look like. Because what you have to do is unlearn what you think you know and imagine what you've not yet even begun to consider. Let me repeat that. Unlearn, wipe out what you think you know now, and imagine, picture what you've not yet even begun to consider. Let's say 20 years ago you were sitting around a big business table and you had brought in with you a 15-cent cup of Mrs. Winter's coffee. And around the table you're brainstorming revenue ideas. And somebody says, could we get somebody to pay $4 for a cup of coffee? You are nuts. Nobody's going to pay $4 for a cup of coffee. But what do we do today? We walk into Starbucks and buy our caramel macchiato quad upside down and plop $4 on the counter. Or around that same business table, you've got a 59-cent head of lettuce. And somebody says, think anybody would pay $3 for this? Yeah, you're nuts. Nobody would pay $3 for a head of lettuce. You know what? We do it all the time. When we walk in the grocery store, buy it pre-shredded and in a plastic bag. Or I fly a lot. Just got back from Dallas, had a little time to kill. 20 years ago, if I had told you that water would sell for $13 a gallon, would you have told me I was nuts? Absolutely. Yet at the airport, at least the Nashville airport, I'll warn you now as you fly out, water is selling for $13 a gallon. Creativity is what led to those innovations. Let me share two in our industry. Everybody know who Zappos is? It's a great online retailer, usually known for shoes, now selling lots of other stuff. And they live and die by their call center and customer service. Because they are selling on internet, you see something you want, you pick up the phone, you call in, or you do an internet and check on where your order is. They now have to know that they have phenomenal customer service in their call center. We all know what happens in call centers. You get somebody who's not real happy with their job, and what's it sound like when they answer the phone? Zappos, how can I help you? They don't want to have that happen, so they got creative. They went to the next level. They will pay you $2,000 to leave their employment and find another job. Isn't that cool? Rather than having you sit there turning their customers off, we'll give you $2,000 to live on while you go out and find another job. Because we all know that the reason people stay is I can't afford to go out and find another job. So they solved that problem. Or a company in Michigan had 1,200 applicants for one job. Anybody in here experienced that happen? Lots of applicants. They were fairly small, weren't too sure what they could do with that. So they took those 1,200 applicants and they decided to have a recruiting party. They got some hors d'oeuvres, some drinks, got their key staff to mix and mingle, and they invited 1,200 people to a party. 400 showed up. 2/3 of their problem immediately went away with nothing more than a recruiting party. And then out of that 400, as they mixed and mingled, the cream of the crop rose to the top, and they could decide who they wanted to pursue and who not. Again, a phenomenal example of creativity taking a problem to the next level. Thriving leaders always search out creativity for their organizations. So in closing, let me take you back to Cabrini Green. Because here's what happened. I went to Cabrini Green and had to overcome all those fears about living in the inner city, about working in gang territory, about driving in Chicago traffic, about being able to afford a house. But it was at Cabrini Green that I learned and started to learn the signs of thriving leaders. Because there, the brutal facts were, you didn't think you'd make it to 18, or you'd end up in jail. We had to wrap those brutal facts in information and inspiration to give them a positive outlook for the future. We had to know what was simple and focus on that. And the simple thing was building relationships and community with kids and families who had no hope. Because in that community, in building that community of relationship then, came hope. We had to step back and say, how are we serving? And put ourselves second and put everybody else we were working with first. And say, we're going to serve you in the way that we served Brian by helping him get to camp. By the way, we send about 200 kids a year to camp to get them out of that environment that they were in for a little while. But we had to do that service. And we had to be creative because every day something new happened. The school bus got set on fire. There was a fight in the gym. There was always something you were dealing with, and you had to go to the next level to solve your problems. And above all, integrity. If you did not do what you said you would do in the inner city, you were history. You had no credibility whatsoever. It was the foundation for everything else that we did. So as we worked, and as I learned to lead, and as I got out of survival mode, what I learned most of all was to put my fear on hold. That's my challenge to you today. Go out and thrive and put your fear on hold. Thank you.